Let's call the meeting in order. If you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Have the board members had an opportunity to read the agenda?
Yes.
Is there a motion?
I'll move that we approve the agenda for the school board meeting for February 27th.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have an agenda. And now the superintendent's report. Mr. Jesse.
Great, thank you, Board President Wielander, other board directors, our student representatives, family, community members, and staff. We'll start off our future business leaders in the DECA team at Shelton High School are off to state. I believe there are 5 representing that team headed forward there, and then we do have 1 female student headed to nationals for DECA down in Anaheim, California. Super exciting for them, and love to hear more about that as they compete. Bite of Reality for seniors is coming up next week, so that's really about personal finance. So they'll given a budget with a variety of scenarios for them to manage, and so they'll go through that exercise with local businesses to help them walk through their own particular scenario and the choices they make around personal finance. So yes, a car can be very expensive, so I'm looking forward to hearing about some of their choices and going and talking to the seniors. Wrestling, so we have 5 boys and 4 girls off to states, and then 6 boys off for the state swimming competition, so I wish them all well. Spring sports started yesterday. That's going, a lot of students turning out. I believe somewhere around 60 students for track, probably even more, and around 50 for soccer. I know college applications are out there, so all I can do is advise many of the students and family members, be patient. It's a long journey, and so when you get on the other side of that, I know many other students are thinking about the trades or also two-year colleges, so I wish them also well. Again, I've heard many students receiving quite a lot of scholarships, and then there are a lot more scholarships out there, so of course I encourage them to look and most certainly talk to their high school counselor for more direction as they need that. Lastly, this afternoon, I was at Bordeaux. I just really want to thank the educators that let me in their classrooms. Every single classroom I walked in today, students were on point. Every kid was sitting there learning. It was just like like one of those, just everywhere I went, it was just kids just absolutely learning, and both in math and in writing today. The lines that were going on there, the students walking the hallway, I couldn't even hear them. It was so quiet. Very orderly, so it's always something I like to see, and I can just tell that the educators have put a lot of time and energy into their structures, routines, and setting up their classrooms, so I want to thank them very much for their outstanding work. So with that, I'll hold it back to you, President Wielander.
Thank you very much. We'll move now on to community comments. And as part of the regular school board meeting, the board invites community members to make public comments in person and or by phone as conditions allow. If speaking in person, please follow the public comment procedure by signing in and stating your name and address at the podium when called by the board chair. If making comments by phone, please dial 1-253-215-8782 and enter meeting ID 872-5618-1978. Each person will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, the board is not allowed to discuss items that are not on the agenda. The board will direct the superintendent to follow up on any items that may arise during public comment as appropriate. The board cautions all speakers that it is possible that your statements could violate the rights of others and of others under various laws, including laws protecting privacy, laws prohibiting defamation. If you are unsure of the legal effect of your remarks, you should seek independent legal advice. In any case, we ask that you help model for our students what a respectful and inclusive community looks and sounds like. And the first speaker will be James Phipps.
Hi guys, I'm James Phipps. I'm the third generation to come through Shelton. My son is the fourth. I'm here to talk about the incident that happened on January 31st. It's been 4 weeks since that happened. The only phone call that my family got from this was from the school nurse, who really didn't know what had happened. I myself called the school athletic director, the principal, the vice principal, with no answers to any of my questions. My son, along with others, were injured during a mat drill run by the football head coach, and there was concussions, there was broken bones, there was a major sprain, and these were all under the teachers that were running it, supervising, and egging it on, and everything went unnoticed. That's what I've been told, that they were not aware of the injuries that were happening until they got a phone call from the nurse. I think that's absolutely unacceptable. I send my child to the school where I figured safety is kind of first. I have trust in the school to take what's best interest for my kid and his safety. I didn't have that thought when my kid was going to go into the weight training class and walk away with a concussion, a sprained ankle. No sympathy whatsoever. I don't expect sympathy, but from people that he should be trusting and has trust in as his coaches, as his teachers, as people in the office, he didn't receive that. My kid was interviewed by the sports administrator without myself or my wife knowing that that was happening, about the incident that happened. An incident was filled out by the people in the room, the people that know everything that happened from start to finish, and it was 4 words. He got shoved into a padded wall and walked away with a concussion and a sprained ankle. And it's a sprained ankle that we've been fighting to keep him in sports. That's all we got. I was out of the state when this happened, so everything was through phone calls, me trying to call, trying to figure out things the best I could. I was gone for a week until I got back. February 13th, you guys had a school board meeting here. It was talked about for 60 seconds with no details, which if you can't do details, fine, but some sort of acknowledgement continuing on. I still haven't got any contact from anybody today about the incident from the school. I just feel it's being swept away and not acknowledged, at least for the people that were involved. I haven't received anything from any teachers, coaches, sports administration, nothing on what's going on, what exactly happened, because I have to listen to my son, and I trust my son. I've talked to his peers. I trust his peers. I haven't talked to the coaches. I haven't talked to anybody, and when I went to the school, it was very hush-hush, very, our insurance is taking care of this. We can't talk about it. So I would like you guys to at least take that into consideration, talk about it. Yeah. It'd be nice to get some answers.
Tracy Derrick.
Hi, I'm Tracy Derrick. I'm here representing a student that was not comfortable coming up here. I'm here as a mother also with a son that's in football, and for all those guys sitting back there and the ones you don't see. So this is a letter that he wrote for you guys to hear. I showed up randomly up in first period, and there was a coach not there. There was 2 other coaches that were. They randomly showed up in our first period class sometimes. I was not happy because they are some of the coaches that treated me like garbage when I hurt my shoulder during football season. My knee had popped and was swollen for my basketball game the night before, so I was only going to do upper body weights in class that day. I saw them there and knew if I did the drill, I would get hurt worse. I also knew I was going to get treated like garbage after I told them I wasn't participating. I don't think it's fair because I get a grade in that class. Before the class started, a coach saw me limping and asked what was going on with me. I told him I was hurt in my basketball game the night before and wasn't going to be able to do whatever we were doing in the weight training room. I got a weird look and a smirk from him and went to the wrestling room. I did not do the drill, but I was in class the whole time during it. Class started with coach having everyone do up downs for some kids being late, and the kids that were late had to run lines. the coach said, you guys are going to do a tackling drill in the wrestling room. The running backs and receivers were at one end, the defensive backs and some others on the side, and the offense and defense linemen at the other end. The receivers had to run, and the defensive tackle backs were trying to tackle from the side, and if they got by them, the linemen were tackling head-on from the other direction, no helmets, no gear, doing 2-on-1 tackles. There were kids that got tackled into the wall during the drill, and some kids suplexed during the drill, in which they were very much injured. The coaches were laughing and just telling hurt kids to get out of the way for the next group. Braden was tackled into the wall and was lying there for a minute holding his head. The coaches just told him to get up, get out of the way for the next group. He got up, left the wrestling room, and sat in the weight room. I didn't see any coaches go in after him. Another one was wrapped up in a running back's ankles and was drug on the mats. When he stood up, his finger was bent sideways at a 90-degree angle. Tony took him out of the room and then came back. I found out later that he was in the nurse's room. Another one tackled another kid with a suplex. When they hit the ground, landed head and neck. He was shocked and laying there on his stomach and was breathing hard and looked like he was crying. 2 coaches went and rolled him over, picked him up under his arms, and walked him to the side. He sat down and was still breathing hard and crying. The class time ended, so we had to get our shoes on and change. When I was getting my shoes in the weight room, I heard another one talking about it and asked him what was wrong, and he said, the side of my face hurts and my head hurts and he was feeling dizzy. When I was done changing in the locker room, there were no coaches with him. Is one of you talking?
Yeah, it's 3 minutes, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, there you go.
But please feel free to send comment to our emails. We can take more comment at
Bryson
our emails.
Rooks.
Okay.
My name is Bryson Rooks. On January 31st, 2024, while attending my first period weightlifting class at Shelton High School, Coach Smith walked in and informed the class that we would be doing a drill in the girls' wrestling room today. After stretching was complete, Coach Smith had us separate by positions. We played in football, and that the smaller, faster guys would be running the ball and the bigger guys would be trying to tackle us. No one was given any padding, helmets, or other equipment we would normally be required to wear in full contact football practices or games. At first, no one got hurt. As the drill progressed, it got more and more aggressive. Kids were thrown to the mats and against the walls. Eventually, kids started to get hurt. One kid dislocated his finger. Others were picked up and thrown on the ground. Even as kids started to get hurt, Coach Smith and Coach Conklin pushed kids to continue the drill and encouraged it to get more and more aggressive. When it came time for my turn, I was fortunate that the drill hadn't got out of control yet. As my second turn approached, I was concerned for my personal safety. I was trying to think of ways to get out of it. Luckily, the period was over before that happened. In closing, I want to appeal to the board to please find a new football coach for Shelton High School. I love football. I've been playing for 6 years, and I want to continue throughout high school, but I cannot do it for someone that I no longer trust to keep me safe on the field.
Thank you. Desiree Leff.
Hello, my name is Desiree Leth, and I reside at 181 East Balmoral Way. I'm going to read this so I stick to it. I would like to start by saying that I am a second grade teacher in a neighboring district. For 7 hours a day, 5 days a week, I'm responsible for the care and safety of 20 children whose parents have put their trust in me to provide a safe learning environment for their children. As exciting as it is to watch them mature academically, and I do work hard to prepare them for 3rd grade, my #1 job when my students enter my classroom each morning is to keep them safe. As a parent, when I send my 3 children to school each morning, I have the same hopes for my children and hope that the teachers, coaches, counselors, and administrators that are responsible for them while I am not there are putting my children's safety at the top of their priority list. Unfortunately, my trust in the Shelton School District has been broken more than a couple of times in the last 3 years that I have had my children in the district. The last event has me wondering if I will ever feel safe sending my kids to the Shelton High School again. On Wednesday, January 31st, my son Jackson Leth sustained a head injury while running football tackling drills in his first period football weights class. One of the teachers was out for the day, so a couple of the football coaches were covering the class. When my husband was first notified by the head coach of the injury, he was told that the boys were running a mat drill and that our son had hit his head and was injured during that, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped a page here. Had hit his head and was a bit dingy. My husband asked the coach to have Jackson call him. When Jackson called my husband, he was sobbing, so badly so that my husband could barely understand what he was saying. He told Jackson to sit with the coaches in the coach's office and that he was on his way. In an email from the athletic director the next day, I was told that the head coach stayed until my son got off the phone, got him water, and asked if he was okay, and then left. He left my son, who had just sustained a head injury. I'm sure he's taken concussion training, and that is not the protocol. My son was definitely not okay. Luckily, my husband had called my son's basketball coach and asked him to please go check on him. The coach went to the nurse's office to look for Jackson, but he was not there, and the nurse informed him that she had not been notified of his head injury. The coach and the nurse then went looking for Jackson. He ended up finding him alone, sitting on the ground in the locker room with his head covered and sobbing. He walked him out to the nurse, and they waited for my husband to arrive. When my husband arrived, Jackson was still sobbing and had clearly sustained a substantial head injury. The nurse took Jackson into the nurse's office to check him out, and my husband went and talked to the AD and athletic director, or AD and assistant principal. When he was done and the nurse had run the concussion protocol on Jackson, they left and went to the urgent care. It wasn't until later that day when we started receiving calls and messages from friends that had kids in the class that we learned that our son was the last of 5 students that had been injured during that one class period. What was allowed to take place in the wrestling room on January 31st was negligent and 100% avoidable. The coaches were encouraging the kids.
Thank you. Sorry. Amanda Eagle.
My name's Amanda Eagle, and I'm giving my time to Desiree Leth.
The coaches were encouraging the kids to launch and work harder, and when kids got hurt, they were mocking them and pushing them to the side so that they could continue the drill. The coaches witnessed my son receive a concussion in which his head first slammed to the ground and then bounced back up, striking the tackler's head. The blow from my son's head to the other child's head caused that child a concussion as well. One witness stated that my son laid on the ground moaning and waving his arms in the air like a baby that was wanting to be picked up. My baby laid there on the ground, having slammed his head twice, and the adults responsible for his care didn't even call the nurse to report the head injury. Our head coach, I think, has 30 years of coaching experience. Then instead of being honest with my husband, downplayed the event and left my son alone, crying on the floor in the locker room after sustaining a serious head injury. As if that wasn't damage enough, the head coach was then allowed to enter the first period class again the next day and told the kids that they would be doing that drill once a month. He entered that room and told the kids that the drill that just caused 4 concussions and a dislocated finger was a normal drill, and that it would be something they would be doing once a month. So I ask, what is the district going to do to gain back our trust and prove that when our kids are in their care, they are safe? I also ask, who was the certificated teacher covering my son's class that morning? Did the volunteers that entered my son's class follow the volunteer protocol and check in at the office before entering the classroom to hold an unsanctioned football practice? Why was my incident report filled out by the head football coach? Is he a certificated or emergency certificated substitute? I have so many questions, but the biggest question that I have is, are the people responsible for what happened on January 31st going to be allowed to do this again? I ask you, the board, and Superintendent Jesse, to please put the safety of our children first and make sure that the people responsible for negligently causing harm to 5 students while in your care never be allowed to step foot in a classroom, field, or court with our children in the Shelton School District again. Also, I would like to add that my incident report also was one line: kid's head hit kid's head. And when I asked for a more accurate detail, I was told that that the principal had a meeting with you, Mr. Jesse, and that our doctor could request that information. So I wasn't even given like an idea of what happened to my child. So, thanks.
Thank you. Jackson Leth.
Hello, my name is Jackson Leth. I'm a sophomore at Shelton High School and was previously a 3-sport athlete. You have already heard what happened to me in PE class on January 31st. What you have not heard is that I missed out on the end of my basketball season and have also had to give up baseball season this year. I was referred to a sports medicine concussion doctor that I saw today, and I'm still not cleared for physical activity. I missed a week and a half of school and I've been back with accommodations. My mom set up a medical 504 meeting for me last week with all my teachers, my counselor, one of the school nurses, and one of the assistant principals. Everyone was on board with all the accommodations, and then at the end of the meeting, the assistant principal denied the 504 because he said the concussion is not a lifelong issue. I would like to know why, if all but one of the people that took their time to be in that meeting with me agreed that the 504 was necessary, why was it denied? I deserve the same chance at success as every other student at SHS. I should not be punished because I was instructed to run an unsafe drill without the proper gear to protect me. Thank you.
Thank you. Mason Guard.
My name is Mason Guard, and I'm here to address what happened on Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. I walked into my first period weight training classroom expecting a normal day, and our head coach was there. And he had us do our dynamic warm-ups until we had 8 students late, and we did 80 up-downs. And he informed us that we would be running a tackling drill with no pads. He had wide receivers and running backs on one side. He had linebackers and all the other bigs and linemen on the other. And we were instructed to not let them get to the wall, the running backs and wide receivers. Oh my God. Okay, and first off, we started the drill with linemen, linebackers tackling the running backs and wide receivers. And when the first student had gotten hurt, it kind of hit me that we shouldn't be doing the drill. But I had placed my trust in coach, and we continued the drill. And he had us bring off the first person that got injured. As the drill continued, more students got injured, and they kept just moving them off to the side, one of them being my brother. And my brother had been injured. He walked off. No one knew he was injured until until he saw his finger to the side. And we still continued after his finger wasn't even pointing the right direction. And then I would say about 5 to 10 minutes later, another student had got hurt, and they tried to move him to the side. He wasn't moving. And then it was close to the end of the class period, so they just decided to scrap it. And he continued to tell us that this had been a tradition in the football system, and that he had done this, and this is usually the result of doing it the first time. And he said that the injuries were normal. He then informed us that we would be doing this monthly, and that's all.
Thank you. Marshall Guard.
I'm here to address what happened on January 31st in my first period weight training class. our normal strength coach wasn't there and our other coaches were. So they had us do a 2-person tackling drill in the wrestling room where the coach separated us into 3 groups of fast, hybrid, and big skills, where the big and hybrids had to tackle the fast skills. If we didn't bring down the fast before he made it to the other side of the wrestling room, we had 10 push-ups. Or if you were a fast skill and you didn't make it to the other side, you had 10 push-ups. We were pressured to tackle like with good form and bring him down, but as it went on, it got more and more like aggressive and unsafe. And all of this was unpadded. I slipped off a tackle and I dislocated my finger and I was taken out of the room to wait for a nurse. At the emergency room, I was told that the 2 bones were shaved together and they would not like work the same for the rest of my life. And honestly, I think it was a really dumb and unsafe drill that we probably shouldn't have done.
Thank you. Chris Gard.
Hi. I'm the father of 2 students that were inside the weight training room. One of them was sent to the hospital. I was on the way to Discovery Bay up by Port Townsend going to dive for work and got that call, you know, the one that a parent doesn't want to get. Your son's being taken to the emergency room, you know, and I got some pictures and stuff like that and asked him what had happened, and he had told me that they were doing drills and stuff, and you know, it wasn't serious, and they thought that it might be a broken finger or maybe a dislocation, you know, so I just kind of went with that. He's not going to die. I still have to go to work. So I went to work for the rest of the day, came home and stuff, and talked to my kid, and thankfully it was just a dislocation, and got a phone call from the head coach later that night. It was a great phone call. He sat there and just lied through his teeth to me and told me that he was not trying to have the kids tackle each other. He was trying to teach them invasive skills. Didn't want them hurting each other at all. And after talking with my kids afterwards, I found out that that was not it at all. When they didn't perform the tackle, you know, they were hazed and they had to do push-ups. And the kid running to the wall, you know, like he was hazed, had to do push-ups. And the injured kids were just like kind of just thrown off to the side. And, you know, I just think that we need to do better. I really want my kids to enjoy their high school experience. They both want to play football, you know. I don't think it's fair to send them to go play football for someone that's unsafe. This could have been a lot worse. You know, you can only pad up so many times for the year in practice. He's got him running tackling drills without pads. I'm standing here before you. I'm pleading with you guys. Don't let this guy come back. That head coach has no business teaching these kids anything. Someone's going to get really hurt. My kids are up in the air whether they want to play football next year. Kind of sucks. You only get one high school career, you know. We all look back at it and wish we could go back to high school, and this is the one shot they have. So I'm just going to leave it with that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Melissa Upson.
My name is Melissa Upson. I reside at Green Forest Drive in Shelton. My son is a junior at Shelton High School and has been a member of the Shelton High School football team for 3 years. I am here to express my continued concern for the safety of our student athletes, specifically those students in the football program at Shelton High School. I think everyone is obviously well up to speed now on the football drill led by coaches that took place on January 31st, leading to 5 injured students as a result of not having any football pads, gear, or helmets. Although this situation is the most recent incident in occurrence, it is not the first of its kind, and I worry that it will not be the last if the district does not hold the parties responsible accountable this time. I want to make sure the district is aware that the current leadership in the football program, since minimally the 2021 season, has a lengthy history of unsafe and unprofessional practices. Since the incident on January 31st, many families and student athletes have spoken to one another about the safety of our student athletes in the care of the current program. I was surprised to hear how many similar stories students have shared with their families, despite the mutual student-coach agreement that what happens at camp stays at camp. Over the last 3 summers of football camp, there has been alcohol consumption, drug use, tobacco use. There have been boxing matches held 2 years in a row, which last I checked wasn't a football-related activity, or a drill that should be happening at camp. One of those boxing matches resulted in a student with a broken hand who had to leave camp for medical care. None of these activities have been a single incident which was addressed or that resulted in any disciplinary action. These activities and behavior are simply a routine part of going to camp because these boys know they can bring in whatever they want to and do whatever they want to when in their cabins, unsupervised, because the leadership continually turns a blind eye to these behaviors. Again, the mantra, what happens at camp stays at camp, which is a mutually agreed upon mantra between the coaches and players, seems to perpetuate behavior that by the books is certainly not permitted by any student athlete. When we sign our kids up to play football in the Shelton High School football program, we expect that the coaches and leadership team will make their top priority the safety of our sons while guiding them to be the kind of student athletes that younger students can look up to and aspire to be like. That is not happening. Instead, our sons are being hazed by coaches, their safety disregarded, and bad behavior is being continually swept under the rug over and over. I hope the district finally holds someone accountable so that those of us with students still in the program don't have to continue fearing for the well-being of our kids. This is the student athlete handbook right here, which lays out the behavior expected of our students. It's pretty clear, no illegal substances, no tobacco or vaping, no fighting. This is stuff that's happening at camp every summer, going unaddressed.
Thank you. Marilyn Aaron.
It's been a minute since I've been here. Nice to see you guys again. As you well know, a recent incident involving unauthorized football practice has not only jeopardized student safety, but also eroded fundamental trust between our school administrators, coaches, and families. On January 31st, during first period of PE class, 2 football coaches conducted an unauthorized and unsanctioned football practice in the wrestling room. This practice took place during the scheduled weightlifting class while the regular weightlifting teacher was out of the office. Here are some of the details that transpired, which you've already heard, but I'm still going to read. Unsanctioned activity. This practice was not approved by the school administration and violated established protocols for extracurricular activities. Safety concerns. The coaches did not follow proper safety measures. Students participated in drills without essential equipment, including protective gear. Helmets, pads, and other protective equipment were absent, putting students at risk of serious injury, some of which occurred. Footwear. Students participated in drills without proper footwear, increasing the risk of slips, falls, and other potential injuries. And the volunteer policy violation. Let's talk about that for a minute. The coaches did not sign in with the school office as volunteers before entering the classroom and working with the students. This is a mandatory protocol to ensure proper oversight and accountability. So as you well know, there were injuries. 1 student suffered a dislocated finger, 4 students received concussions, and alarmingly, as you've already heard, 1 student with a severe concussion was left unattended by coaches. I have a student athlete, he wrestles. He got a concussion this season during wrestling. That coach, there's no way he would have left him unattended. He made sure that either I or the medical personnel was with him, evaluating him and staying with him at all times. I can't believe that happened. This blatant disregard for safety protocols raises grave concerns. Moreover, the shocking lack of communication from the coaches, administrators, and even our district to the affected students' families is unacceptable. Parents and guardians were not informed of these injuries, leaving families in the dark about the well-being of their children. This has breached the trust that our community should have in this school. Superintendent Jesse, during the height of the COVID pandemic, you repeatedly emphasized the vital importance of protecting our students. You spoke of the risks posed by unvaccinated staff and your commitment to safeguarding our children. These recent events raise a troubling question. Where is that same unwavering commitment to safety now? Where is the safety when coaches jeopardize students with reckless and unauthorized practices? Where is the protection when a severely concussed child is left without care? Where is our trust when parents are kept in the dark about injuries, when transparency evaporates and accountability disappears? Furthermore, the complete disregard for established safety protocols and the resulting injuries sustained by students are completely unacceptable. These actions of these coaches demonstrate a blatant disregard for the well-being of our students and raise serious questions about their fitness to work with children in any capacity. This demands immediate attention, and I certainly hope you guys do something about this.
Thank you. Okay, I'd like to move on to reports and recognition and the student school representatives. We'll start with Aiden Underberg from Cedar High School.
All right, so earlier today we had juniors and seniors go on a field trip to Olympic College campus up in Bremerton. They learned about various programs like culinary, cosmetology, digital design, welding, medical transcription, childcare, entrepreneurship, tech design, and financial aid. And then our seniors are finishing up their senior projects to present on March 12th.
Thank you. Riley Sanders from Choice.
Hi, earlier this month we had officers come and have a discussion with leadership students about how they felt about police officers and if they felt safe around them. Olympic Community College came and did a presentation. South Sound also came and helped kids apply and set up their accounts for the college. We had a Candygram fundraiser. We had Spirit Week, and we are currently holding a drawing competition where the students get to vote, and the winner's drawing goes on our school sweatshirts and hoodies for this year. And we are currently setting up our classes for next trimester. I would also like to add that this incident does not only affect the students' athletic, it also affects their academic. Thank you.
Thank you. Abigail Hurst from Shelton High School.
Registration for next year is nearly complete. Incoming 8th graders are complete, and we just have a few classes to finish up. Over 400 current freshmen have declared their academy choice for next year. Students were excited to receive their acceptance letters, and a celebration will be held during freshman orientation this fall. Spring sports practices started yesterday. Games start in about 2 weeks, and our annual Tolo dance is being held this weekend.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to 6, the consent agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at that?
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
I second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Item number 7, discussion and action items. 7.01, the proposed revised policy number 2410, high school graduation requirements by Mary Ann Marshall. This will be the second reading and recommended for approval.
Good evening, Board President Wielander, directors of the board, Superintendent Jesse. Just as a reminder, as last time, in recent years, Washington State has undergone significant changes in their high school graduation requirements to ensure that students are ready for college, career, and life. Since 2016, the state has mandated shifts towards a 24-credit requirement designed to provide students with a comprehensive education that includes core academic subjects, career, and technical education, as well as personalized pathway options. This policy revision that I'm recommending for board approval aims to incorporate these state-level changes, ensuring our district requirements are not only compliant with state mandates, but also support our students' diverse needs and goals. Also, I'd like to say under the procedural, you'll notice that it says draft. We're wrapping up some minimal changes, particularly in the way of the appendices, but I open it up for any questions.
Sorry, my computer's not working with the internet today, so I can't look at it, but the last draft of this, was it 2017 or 2018 that it's being updated from? I want to say when I was reading it this weekend, it's been significantly updated since they were
It says April 28th, 2015.
2015.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most of the policy reverted into the procedure, and that's why it looks like there was so much change.
Okay.
Any other questions?
So this is the level of high school. Have we had our personnel look at it and read through it as well, like our high school principal, the school counselors who help people understand, students understand this?
That's a great question. Yes, I had all high school administration take a look at these documents.
Okay. So the document says there are 3 things to graduate. You have to do a high school and beyond plan.
Correct.
You have to get 24 credits.
Correct.
And you have to do at least one of the graduation pathway options. So on that last item, I have a couple questions about the pathway. So there's a list of different things the students can prove that they've met this requirement. For example, passing the Smarter Balance, passing advanced placement classes, dual credits, high school and college credit. And then number 3 says they have to have at least 1 credit in high school transition course in English and 1 in math. Can you explain what a high school transition course is? Do you want me to tell you what page I'm reading off of? Will that help? It's page 7 out of 20.
Oh, you're looking at the procedure?
Oh.
Yeah, she's looking at the
okay.
procedure.
I'm a step ahead of where we are. We have 2? Yes, procedure. So are we talking about procedure right now? Okay. Okay, so it's part of the policy, yes. It's the procedure, and it's page 7 of 20. Graduation pathway option requirements.
I'll take the question.
Sorry.
So depending on your pathway, so that's that notion, exactly what you're talking about. You have 24 credits. For those students who are looking to move on to a 2 or 4 year institution, there are some courses that are coded for a transition. So like a dual credit class, for example, is something that would ready them so that when they enter into their post-secondary experience, they're ready to go so they don't have to take any kind of remedial course when they get to that other institution. So not a lot of students are going through that particular pathway, but that is one of the many, as you can see, opportunities for our students.
I guess I still don't understand because one item is listed as dual credit.
Yep.
And number 4 is advanced placement classes, which
Yep.
would be, yeah, that would be college.
Could meet that requirement too.
So what does transition mean? Transition course? It's number 3.
We'll get back to you about the exact definition of that. I don't have the list
Okay.
of courses that follow underneath
Yeah.
that, so we'll have to pull that from the course catalog.
Okay, all right. Yeah, that's a very specific question, so I understand that. And I'll pass. Someone else can ask a question.
Are there any other questions? Last chance, Carla. I always follow you on this one. Okay. So the policy is the policy 2410, and it's not the procedure. The procedure's attached to it, and we're looking to approve the policy 2410. Do I have a motion?
I motion to approve the proposed revised policy number 2410, high school graduation requirements.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you. And now 7.02, proposed revised policy number 3520, students' fees, fines, and charges. Read by Mary Ann Marshall. This will be the first reading and open for discussion.
All right, good evening again. As you said, I'd like to propose some updates to the policy 3520 concerning student fees, fines, and charges. Policy 3520 serves several important purposes within our education system. This policy is designed to clearly outline the financial obligations and potential penalties for students and their families, ensuring equity, transparency, and fairness in our educational system. It also ensures that students have access to resources and opportunities they need to succeed, while also managing financial contributions in a responsible manner. So these proposed revisions made in this policy help to ensure that the fees do not become a barrier for our students. It also provides more clarity and notification around the appeal process. I welcome any questions.
So what would be the fees involved here? I would imagine, dog eating books, no lunches, that kind of stuff. What are some of the examples?
So yes, if a textbook is damaged, it could be if you haven't returned any of your sports equipment. Let's say an accident happened or damage was done to a chair, a building. It's a wide range of fees that could happen.
There's a statement that if they are on free or reduced lunch, then these fees can be waived. So is there some other consequence they'll have besides a monetary one?
Community service can be completed.
Are we set up for that, for supervisors, or that would be something that we'd have to create?
If a student wanted to pay for their fines through the community service, part of this policy and procedure, then we would make that opportunity available to them.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's open, just for clarity, that would be open for any student, not just those who are qualified for free reduced lunch.
Oh, yes.
And we already do a number of projects on our campuses that could qualify as some community service.
Can you give us an example?
I just know one just came about a couple weeks ago. We had some students who got caught with vapes, for example, and so they had to do kind of like a public service announcement, go out and do announcements, do some things like that helps support it. Obviously, vapes can be
Thank you.
disruptive, right, to schools, and so that would be part of one example of amongst many.
I have.
Okay.
Paragraph 1, it says supplementary supplies and materials. Does that mean it's replaced with the same thing, or? The superintendent may approve the use of supplementary supplies and materials.
Materials.
I know.
Yeah, the very first paragraph, it reads kind of funny.
I'm just, yeah.
Mary Ann, do you want me to answer that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm just like
Okay,
rereading.
it's all right. Yeah, I was over in procedures. So under this policy, so in particular, there's a difference between what we call basic education, your the textbook that you have. Then there's things that are supplemental, like one example was PE equipment, for example. You can charge a fee for things that are supplemental. But what we can't do is charge for your textbooks, things that are part of the general education curricula that help students learn the state standards. That's really the definitive definition of the difference between what is core, sometimes is what we refer to, and what is supplemental.
Okay, so paragraph 2, it talks about the superintendent or designee establishes fees and procedures and makes an annual report to the board regarding fee schedule. What month is that? Is that like at the beginning of the year, before the school year starts?
Defer to Brenda. When do we usually annually do that?
So typically you would receive that when we do the financial close because those are in a separate revenue line for fees and fines. So we would tell you what the total is for the year of what had been charged.
So the end of the year?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and so next paragraph, there's a lot of changes, so it says right here that, so is anything under $1,000 written off? Upon completing community service that reduces the amount owed to less than $1,000, the student's diploma will be released.
Correct. So the difference, if it's over $1,000, we'll give them their transcripts, but we will withhold their diploma. And then once it reaches under $1,000, we will release the diploma to the student.
And so that under $1,000 never gets paid to the school district? Is it like written off?
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, it's written off. Okay. Next paragraph, it says, notice of the fine must be provided to the students, parents, or guardians before penalties are assessed. That confuses me a little bit.
So you have to notify the parents and the families and the student that there's going to be a fine. Like if I'm the classroom teacher, the school administrator, if there's missing, like they didn't turn in their textbook, I would reach out and let them know, and then later follow up with letting them know how much that would cost to replace if they could not. Because oftentimes books could be at home, they just need their student to turn it in.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
And then the only thing that I had was kind of in agreement with, on paragraphs 1 and 2, if you could just sort of clarify that a little bit so it doesn't get lost in the mud, that'd be great.
I do think it's important that parents and the students always have the ability to appeal as well. So, but this is just a first reading, so if there's other questions too that come up or clarifications.
I do on but this is on 3520P, so that's the next.
If there's a P by it, that's the procedures.
Yeah, but I have a question on that, separate from this.
Yeah.
Now is the time. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, 3520P, the administrative procedure number E, it's lined out. Students be required to furnish pencils, papers, and stuff. So they're no longer required to do that?
We want to make sure that students have access to those things. Oftentimes parents and students will bring those to school, but it's not going to be a requirement or hold them back. They will have access.
So the school will provide that?
Yes.
Okay, next page. It is like the second paragraph down. If a student has not paid for 5 or more previous meals, the school shall follow the procedures in policy 6700, 6700P. So I read both of those and couldn't find any mention of what transpires if not paid for. And did I miss something?
I'll have to refer back to that, so I don't have that policy in front of, or that policy and procedure in front of me, and get back with you at the second read.
Okay, so last paragraph, well, second to last. The district will publish and maintain the following information on the website that facilitates each accesses to information. I don't know if that's worded funny.
So we have to publish on our website how many diplomas have been withheld because of unpaid fees
Yeah.
or fines.
I get that part, but the wording kind of facilitates each access to information. I'm sure it's fine, just sounds off.
Just strike each, just strike the each out of that.
Each out, yeah, okay. And then very last is number of students with withheld diplomas who are eligible for free or reduced price meals during the last 2 years of enrollment in the district. How is that relevant to be published on the website, whether they're eligible for free or reduced meals? I'm sorry.
Yeah. Still be anonymous, and usually the point of that is disproportionality. If the particular procedures we have, if it is actually impacting those who, again, are free and reduced lunch to access, obviously additional fees or things that are happening for them, that's all that would be. We do a lot of that information in the back end for other students who qualify for state and federal programs.
All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions?
I don't have any other questions. Anybody else? Okay.
All right.
All right. So that was the first reading. We'll be back at it next month, or in a couple weeks. Okay, 7.03, proposed new policy number 3515, student incentives. Brenda Trog said this will be the first reading and discussion.
Good evening. In front of you, you have a new policy. It's policy number 3515 for student incentives. 2 years ago, the state auditor, when they were visiting us, noticed we were giving student incentives, which we do to promote academics and, get them coming to school and be excited about things when they do good things. So they noticed we did not have a current board policy in place, so they recommended a policy. They told us to look at Tacoma School District, which we did in preparing this. We also used WASDA's policy and several other districts. So mostly what it does, it gives you a de minimis amount of which we selected $15, which was what Tacoma was using, because previously we didn't have that in writing anywhere. That was pretty much what we were using, $15 to $20. And then in aggregate, we have chosen to use $500 per school department for incentives for the year. And then this policy also addresses if a corporate or a business wants to donate an incentive to a student, it is better that they do it directly to the student, because if it gets donated to Shelton School District, it becomes our property, and then we would not be able to do it that way. And it also recommends that if it's going through ASB funds, it does the same manner, that they donate directly to the student, and all of these de minimis numbers apply to the associated student body too. So when the auditor comes physically, she's doing online right now, we will be able to show her that we have done what they recommended. But this is a first reading. Do you have any questions on any of it?
Okay, second to last paragraph about any vendor group, just what you spoke about. My only question is, do you limit the vendors that can donate? For example, you award contracts to people to provide school lunches, stuff like that. So if there's somebody that you could potentially work with contractually in the future, Do you allow them to donate?
We have a separate board policy that talks about relations with vendors, so it does limit what you can do there. If it's not a current vendor, it probably wouldn't apply, but for stuff like that, we would go out to bid, so it is a competitive process that they would have to go through. And after they became a vendor, you'd have to follow the other board policy that talks about relations with vendors. You can't accept gifts from the vendors, that type of thing.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Well, as a retired teacher, spent a lot out of my budget for prizes. I don't think that's going to go away for any teacher, but it's nice to know that there is some acknowledgement of incentive. My question is that we have a group in town that donates bikes for books. And so does this change that at all? They are willing to donate 4 or 5 bikes to each elementary school based on reading achievement.
So that has been an issue that we worked with the state auditor in the past on. We do have to make sure we're very clear when they donate those bikes to the school that every student has the ability to try to win that bike, which they do. So that's how we have handled that in the past. It's a, let's say, competitive process for every student, but it's equal per student. They all have the same capability to win that bike per school.
And even though it exceeds $15, it is still...
That's okay.
Okay.
It's us that the $15 applies to when we're spending district dollars.
Thank you.
This is one of those policies that is part of government as a necessary goofiness. Yeah, you can't give away money unless you have a policy for it. So are there any other questions about this? All right, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. With that, we'll move on to board member comments. We'll start on the end with Director Conquest.
I would like to thank all the community members for coming and speaking. It's important that you get a voice in this. Thank you.
Yes, good evening. Thank you for coming here tonight and sticking with us for the whole meeting. We do appreciate hearing your comments and getting your story heard. And we can take comments and written statements at our emails. I'd like to re-recognize the sports teams and the DECA accomplishments, and note that ledge session is still going. Last Thursday, WASDA still had 49 still active education-related bills that they were tracking. And after March 8th and through the end of the month, we'll have an idea of what new rules or policies the district will have coming their way. Thank you.
Just real quick, how much longer in the ledge session?
Session ends on the 8th, but then the governor will have his time to sign.
Okay.
So. Yeah, they're slowly dying, though. They passed through the one side of the house, and now they're dying on the other side, so.
Director Knudsen?
Yes. I'd like to thank the community that spoke tonight and everyone who supported for giving us another side of the story. And I think it's wonderful that people are able to voice their issues. The other thing is I'm very excited about a read-in coming up at Mountain View School, where they're going to invite people in to read to students. I'm going to participate, as well as some other people here. It's just a wonderful connection between community and schools to have guest readers. That's it.
Director Davison.
Yeah. Same as everybody else, thank you very much for coming and making public comment tonight. I specifically want to thank the students that made those comments. It's not easy to do, and I'm sorry that there were injuries that occurred during the school time. And I'm very sorry for parents who had to receive those phone calls, because as a parent, that is the last thing that I would want to have happen. So thank you very much for the public comments that you did make tonight. I've taken quite a few notes. I also always want to thank our students who sit up here for the whole meeting, and you get to listen to all of these things that happen too, and give us the reports of what's going on in your school. Always want to encourage you to keep letting us know all of the good things, any concerns, any improvements that you think that we need to hear as a school board. We appreciate having you on the board, and we want to hear your voice. I had a Zoom call today with the Trust Land Advisory Committee. I sit on that. I was asked to be on that WASDA committee because our Shelton School District does get a small amount of funds for timber sales. So I sit on that with a number of other school districts that are in a position like that as well, and we were being updated on different legislative matters and really just timber industry things that go on. So nothing really to report at this time, but I do go to those meetings every month at the end of the month. So as I learn more being on that committee, I will definitely report that out to all of you. And I'm excited for spring sports to begin. The weather's not really cooperating for that, but here we are. And I also do want to congratulate all of the athletes that went on and competed in state competitions last week. We had a lot of people in a lot of different events, and I'm just really proud of all those students for going and having a chance to compete at state.
Really, it's kind of all been said already. The read-in's coming up. That's one of my favorite things to do. Looking forward to it. See you there. The bite of reality. I wish I knew in high school what I know now about finances. I'd have just stayed in high school. Sports coming up. Shout out to golf. It never gets any respect. You can golf in the rain. So poo on the weather. And to all the students that spoke tonight, public speaking is hard enough. Public speaking on a contentious thing is difficult at best. Sorry, it's even something to talk about. So, thank you. We don't have an executive session tonight, so I would take a motion to adjourn.
A motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we're adjourned at 19:07.